All right, so it looks like it is time to get started. So again, my name is Marcus. I am a part of Homework Alabama. I help basically answer any of the questions that you may have. And today we're going to be going over all the different features in the Homework Alabama program, as well as how to actually access it. So to go ahead and get started, if you have any questions throughout the session, there should be a question box attached to your control panel. And from there, I'll be able to answer questions at the end of the session or, go over anything that you may want some more information about. So feel free to drop any questions whatsoever in there, and I'd be happy to take care of that for you. But to get started, all you have to do is head to homeworkalabama.org, and that will bring you to this page. And on this page, it basically tells you a little bit about what is going to be available for you, which we will be going in a bit more in depth in just a moment. But once you want to get started, you just click this button right here, and that will bring you on over to our home page. Now, if you're in the state of Alabama, you'll basically just see something like this. You'll be automatically brought into the program. You don't have to worry about authenticating or anything. If you're a citizen of Alabama, but a but like let's say you're traveling or you're out of state for whatever reason, all you would need is your library card number and you'll be able to get in that way as well. But again, as long as you are within Alabama, you'll have instant access. And as you can see, once you come in on this top bar over here, connect with the tutor now is highlighted or bolded and everything else is grayed out. That's because you're accessing as a guest. And when you access as a guest, that means you can connect with the tutor between the hours of 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., but everything else is behind an account wall. So you do have to create a free account. It's super easy, and we'll be going over that in just a moment. Um, so all you have to do is you can take a look at some of the different features over here. There's a take a tour button, which will basically give you a one sentence summary going over all the different features. And then as you can see down here, as you scroll, there is actually we kind of bucket things out for you, so that's a bit easier for you to access the different features. So let's say you wanted to connect with a drop off a math question, you could just click this button and it will automatically bring you on over to that page, to the correct page. But now let's say that we wanted to unlock everything in this top bar right here. All you would have to do is click create an account and then enter in your first name, your email address, your password, and then we do ask for your date of birth because we are COPA compliant. We do take that very seriously. So we can go ahead and put this in. And birth date, let's put that in. And then once you create an account, as you can see, everything up top here has been bolded, which means I can start to access it. And now for actually connecting with the tutor, again, this is available between 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. So it really has a wide range of availability to kind of fit the schedule of pretty much any student or any adult who maybe has work or a high school student who has extracurricular activities. We do try to adjust and be accommodating for them. And then you can just choose what it is that you need help in. My go-to is always going to be chemistry. So I just choose science and then chemistry. And then you choose your grade level because teaching an eighth grader is very different than teaching a college student. There's a different kind of dynamic as well as approach that the tutor might take. And then you just choose what city and library you're coming from just for statistical purposes so that your library can have an idea of how many people are coming from their library. And then you just choose how you want to actually communicate with the tutor. And this is pretty cool because you can have either a chat only session, so think Facebook Messenger, any IM service. That's pretty much how it's going to act. Or you can actually have a voice session for all of the different topics that we have available, which I'll go over in just a second. But with a voice session, you can actually talk to them back and forth. So that's great for kind of the more complicated subjects like chemistry, calculus. If you're doing a paper, that's probably going to be the easiest way that you're going to be working with a tutor. So we do have that option available for you. And then you just enter in your question. It could be as specific or generic as you need. So let's say I'm just struggling with the concept of covalent bonds. I can type that in and the tutor is going to be able to address that and help me out. Or if I'm struggling with question number 5 on my chemistry homework, I could type in the question or I can even attach a file. So if it's a PDF, or I could take a screenshot and attach that so that the tutor has all the information that they need in order to actually work with the tutor or work with the student. Then you just hit connect now, and within about a minute or so, you'll be brought over to our tutor.com classroom. Now, this is the practice classroom, so there's going to be no interaction with an actual tutor. But once you're in the program, everything that you do is interactable with the tutor and vice versa. So whatever I draw, the tutor can interact with. The tutor can write notes as I write notes. So it's a great thing for parallel, a parallel learning experience, and it's very cooperative. So anything that I draw, the tutor can see, and you can even bring in different shapes, formulas. If you take a screenshot, you can add that in as well. So let's say I'm working on surface area of a cylinder. I can bring that in and have the formula available for me, so I don't have to be flipping through all my notes to find the correct formula. Or you can even bring in different shapes. So let's say you're doing the volume of a cylinder, you can bring that in and then put the corresponding measurements where they need to be. Or you can even bring in a graph and change the paper to graphing paper and then start to do some of those more simple graphing equations on here. And it's super, super helpful. And one of the cool things about our classroom is that you don't have to really worry about running out of space because you can keep creating more and more whiteboards. And then you can just kind of flip back and forth between all of them. So all of that work is going to be saved for you to view whenever it is that you need. Moving forward, we have a graphing calculator as well. And this is, obviously for those math subjects that are a little bit more complicated. And it's just helpful because now you don't really have to worry about trying to explain what's happening on your TI-89. You could just do it visually with your tutor. And it saves a lot of headache and confusion and stress, honestly, on the side of you or the student who's using it. So this is going to be probably your best friend in a geometry or trigonometry class. And most people are actually pretty familiar with this because it's powered by Desmos. And if schools have been virtual or in a hybrid type of model, chances are either you or your children have used something similar to this. Moving on, we have the text editor, and this is going to be your Google Docs. Essentially, you can copy and paste whatever it is that you're working on, whether that be a paper, a cover letter for a job that you want to apply to. You can bring that in here and work in real time with the tutor. And they can highlight, bold things, underline things for you while you're making those changes. And then there's also a share file. Now, this is going to be great for, especially for people who are doing, let's say, resume work, because obviously the formatting of the resume is super important, and just copying and pasting that into Google Docs isn't always going to work. So what you can do is you can actually upload your resume here, and then the tutor's going to be able to pull it up and share their screen, and then you can work on the resume that way. So, it's a very flexible system that allows for just about whatever kind of help that you need. And then in the bottom right corner, you can see this is where uh, the chat is. So if I decide to just have a chat session, you type there back and forth. No one's going to respond because, again, this is a practice classroom. But it's fairly easy and easy to use. And then if you have a voice session, once you come into the classroom, a pop-up will, pop up and ask you to connect your audio device and test everything to make sure it's working correctly. So that could be, your webcam audio or your headset. But if for whatever reason you can't get that to work, and some people just don't have access to that technology, we do have an option where you can call in and use an anonymous PIN to get connected to the tutor. And with that, the tutor doesn't get any of that information. We don't save any of that information. It's just another way to kind of bridge that technology gap that a lot of communities sometimes have issues with. So that's it for the tutor.com classroom. Once you hit end session, there will be a little survey that comes up asking how we did, if you have any comments about the session. And then you can even send yourself or email somebody else a transcript of your session. So let's say you didn't have an account and you still wanted to save some of the information so you could look at it later down the week or in a month from now. You can email yourself the session transcript and then you'll be able to view that moving forward. So it's a really nice extra feature for those who don't necessarily want to create an account. Now, heading back over here, before we move on, there are a couple other things I want to show about our live one-to-one help, which again is available between 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. So the first is that we do offer Spanish-speaking tutors. So if you, your friends, or anybody that you know of is more comfortable learning in Spanish, for math, science, and social studies, we do have Spanish-speaking tutors available, and you could do the same thing. You can have a chat only or a chat and voice session, so it's super, useful for anybody who's just more comfortable or that's the only language that they know. And we're currently looking to expand these topics, which, we'll have some more information about that coming soon. But moving back to English, once it loads, I just kind of want to go over some of the topics that are available for English tutoring, because a lot of people think Homework Alabama is just for, homework for K through 12 students, high school students, college students. There's actually a lot for adults as well. So let's say you're someone who's back in the job market, you can go choose job help, and then you can get help writing a resume, even prepare for an interview. So you can talk back and forth and discuss the topics that you might want to bring up in your session or in your actual interview. And then again, you just choose what grade level you're at. Sometimes high school students are applying for internships. And then you just type in what it is you need help in, and then you'll be able to work with one of our career coaches that way. Similarly, we do have resources for people who are taking the GED or high set tests, study skills coaching. So that's for any students who maybe are working remotely and they're kind of falling behind because it's a new environment for them. They're not comfortable with taking online classes or how to take notes in this kind of situation. So we do have tutors who can help them set goals and more efficiently take notes, and then we even have that for parents as well, who are now more, you know, more involved in their kids' education. So if you know anybody who is kind of like that, maybe you're now homeschooling, this might be a great help for you and talk about, maintaining knowledge gaps, finding balance for your kids. All of that kind of stuff is available. So there's a ton for both, students as well as adults who are looking for help. Now, while the Connecting with the Tutor Now is available between 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., everything else that I'm going to show you is available 24/7. So it could be 3 in the morning, and if you want to submit a paper, you're going to be able to do that, and I'm going to show you how. So submitting a paper is honestly fairly easy. Just like with connecting to a tutor, you just choose, your library and then what you need help in. So you can drop off a paper or a resume or cover letter. We'll go over both. You choose your grade level, what the topic of your paper is, so that the tutor actually knows kind of what you're going to be writing about, where you are in the process, because again, kind of just starting out as opposed to pretty much finishing up, two very different types of feedback you might be getting. And depending on what you choose, you actually have the ability to highlight and focus on specific aspects of your paper. So for me, I know I would probably struggle most with grammar and punctuation and then sentence variety. So I can highlight those two fields so that the tutor knows going in that's what I want them to focus on. And then if there are any specific instructions that you have from your actual teacher or professor, you can put that in here so that the tutor knows what you're going to be graded on. And then you just upload your file and hit submit. And then within about 12 hours, although in my experience it's usually a little bit faster than that, you'll get something that looks like this. And we essentially just rubric everything out for you, and we even color code it to make it as easy as possible for you to understand what you need to do to improve your paper, and where you're struggling and where you're kind of excelling at. So some of the different topics are actual essay structure, going over your thesis statement, grammar, mechanics. And one of the things beyond just using a rubric, we kind of give back feedback in the comments over here. And our tutors will link out often to different sites that they think might be helpful for you. For example, if I'm struggling with citing my sources, the tutor can put me over to a site that kind of better explains when I need to cite and how to cite. And then probably the coolest feature is if you click the review document right up here, that will then download a version of your paper that's going to look like this. And our tutors basically will go through as much of the paper as they can, and they'll give you more specific feedback. So like, for example, on this sentence, the tutor left a lot of information on what might be wrong and what you might need to improve or change. And to keep in mind, our tutors won't ever actually make changes on the paper. That's for you, the student, to do yourself, because you do want to learn so that you don't make these mistakes moving forward. But yeah, your paper is just going to look something like this with a bunch of different comments by our tutors giving you a bit more in-depth information on your paper. And moving back again, this is available 24/7, and you do need an account to access it, which we went over earlier. But you can also switch it over to a resume and cover letter, and it's kind of like the same thing. You just put in all the information and you let the tutor know, hey, this is a resume I want you to look at. And then you can choose who you are. And what that means is, are you like a recent graduate? Is this your first job? Are you transitioning from one career to the other? That way, our tutor has a better idea of where you might be struggling in that resume. And then you can even put the job announcement in here, so that the tutor can go in and look at all the different keywords and see kind of what you might want to add to your resume. So there's a lot of information that the tutors are going to be able to provide back to you. And this is what it's going to look like when it gets sent back. It's a little bit more basic, but it's still the same thing. You can get a bunch of information in the comments over here, as well as the review document, which will look similar to this, except obviously a resume with all the different comments in the side margins. And now moving off up to the drop-off math questions, this is going to be great, especially for, college students or high school students who, have after-school activities, whether that's a job or sports or any volunteer work, and they, for whatever reason, can't connect with the tutor. This is going to be honestly a lifesaver because you can drop off any math question that you have for algebra up until calculus, and then you can type in the question or even attach a file. So again, take a screenshot and upload that, or draw out your problem. So if you click this, a whiteboard will pop up for you to do some drawing on there. And then once you submit it, you'll get something back that looks like this, where it's basically a rundown of how to get to the solution of that problem. And we both have written examples or written steps, as well as visual steps. So we kind of adjust for both types of learners and give them as much information as needed. And it will just kind of give you a rundown on how to answer this type of question. And then you can use that for the rest of your homework assignment, or you can use that as the basis for your studying. So there's a lot that this feature is going to be really helpful for. Moving on, we have practice quizzes, which these I like to think of as end of chapter quizzes, where, let's say I'm in English and I want to go over something that we're doing in English class. You can scroll through, find the right question for you, and let's say this is what I wanted to do. You can just take the quiz. I'm not going to actually take the quiz, but if you finish it, you'll be able to review the answers, see what you got correct and incorrect. And if you're still struggling, you can hit discuss with the tutor, and that will actually bring you back over here. Oh, it looks like it didn't exactly work, but it will be bringing you back over to the Connect to a Tutor Now page, and it will auto populate this field for you, the enter your question field, with a link to that quiz so that the tutor has that information in front of them, and then they can, walk you through the process of getting there and having a better understanding of that topic in general. And we have hundreds and hundreds of quizzes available for you, and you can even retake quizzes after you finish them. So, again, it's a great kind of end of chapter review for yourself. And then the last main features that I did want to go over, which again, if you have any questions or want me to clarify or go over anything again, just let me know in the question box and we'll get to them in just about 10 or so minutes. But we partner up with the Princeton Review, which means we get to take a whole lot of their content. And some of that content includes SAT and ACT preparation tests. So this is an actual self-paced course that people would normally have to pay for, but because your state library is offering Homework Alabama to everybody, you get access to it for free. And essentially, you can take a bunch of different online practice tests for the SAT and ACT. And once you finish those tests, our system will give you basically a rundown of here are your here are the subjects that you're struggling in, and what you need to do to get better. Here are the subjects that you're doing well in, and then based on that, you can then get the help with our tutors or through the different video lessons and practice drills that we have available for you. And you can even track your score over a bunch of different tests. That way you can see if you're improving, if you're getting worse at specific subjects. So there's a lot of information that's going to be provided to you as you take these different tests. And also for anybody who is thinking about going to college, but they're not too sure about that process, we do also have a bunch of materials for that in here. So if you go on in, we have an admissions page, which basically takes all of the information that we have from the Princeton Review, talks about how to find the right college for you, financial aid information, how to write an admissions paper, all of that kind of stuff that a lot of students or even some of you may be struggling with will be available for you to take a look at. Similarly, for our older students, if you're going back to school, we do have grad test prep, which will cover the GRE, GMAT, LSAT, and MCAT. And essentially, with this, you have all of those different tests to practice, and then you get those detailed score reports that will tell you this is what you're struggling on and this is what you need to do to improve. And all of those trackers and everything is also available for our grad test prep. Now, for people who might be a little bit more shy, because not everybody wants to or is comfortable, talking to a random person or a random tutor, we do have a whole bunch of video lessons available for you. Basically, these are predominantly for the AP exams. However, it could be useful for anybody who's taking biology, calculus, US history, or world history, because while the first couple will be specific to the AP exam. As you scroll down, you'll see things like how natural selection works, properties of water, constraints of cell size. All of these things are things that you're going to be going over in the actual classes that you're taking. So there's a lot of information, and these videos are created and taught by actual teachers. So a lot of that information is going to be taught in a way and explained in a way that you might be a bit more familiar with and might make more sense for you. And then for our younger students, these are what I like to call early edge videos. And it's predominantly for, late elementary school, early middle school students, but it can be great for anybody who just wants a refresher, or for any parents. Let's say your child is, again, uh, taking their education from home, or maybe you're doing homeschooling now. You can watch these videos and kind of get a refresher on different arithmetic topics, or reading, writing, and grammar, all of that stuff. And then you can then be more involved in your kids' education. Or you could just share these videos with them directly. And again, we have just dozens of videos. So between this and the AP videos that we have hundreds of videos at your disposal for you to take a look at. And that is all of the Princeton Review materials. There are only two other things that I did want to show off before we get to questions. The first is if you go to the Connect with a Tutor Now page and you scroll down, you'll see two different things. One, you'll see the Skill Center, which this is basically where we scour the web to find different resources that are going to be helpful for you. So as you can go in, there are, let's say, career resources for how to prepare for an interview, and we link to a bunch of different articles and videos and things to help you prepare for that. Same thing with test prep for just about every test that I know of and so much more. We link out to different websites and articles, worksheets, quizzes online that you can take that would be helpful for you. And one of the coolest things about the Skill Center is actually our study resources. And if you go on in, once this loads, we're actually starting to put in some proprietary resources in here. So seems like my internet wants to be a little bit slow, but for the grades K through 5 right now, for both English and math, we actually have a bunch of different worksheets that we've created. So you can kind of download all of those, work on them with your kid, or, maybe just hand it to them and give it to them as like an extra homework assignment. All you have to do is select either English or math, elementary, and then whatever grade, first through fifth, and then further down is kindergarten. And again, you can just download as many of these as you want, use them for whatever it is that you need. And there's a ton of resources, and we're actually adding more and more constantly. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And then back to the Connect with the Tutor Now page, there is an app, and the app is going to be, it is currently available for basically iPhones, Androids, whatever mobile device you might be using. And once you actually create an account, so again, you do have to create an account if you want to use the app, you'll then be able to sign in through the app. So it's going to be super helpful and easy for you if that's kind of the way you prefer to work. Otherwise, if you want to access the program on your phone or on your tablet, you can still head to the URL homeworkalabama.org and access that way through your internet browser. And then just some extra benefits that you get when you make an account. As I mentioned earlier, you can email yourself a transcript, but if you have an account, all of those sessions are automatically going to be saved. So while you can see I don't have any because I just created this account, um, basically, after I have a session, it will be saved here, and then I can look at the transcript. If I had an audio session where I was talking with the tutor, I can listen to that. I can also view all the different worksheets that I wrote on or whiteboards. Everything is going to be there for you to take a look at after the session is done. So if you ever want to review something moving forward, you can. And now for people who prefer a little bit more consistency like myself, let's say you're working in calculus and you have a tutor that explains things in a way that no other teacher has and it really makes sense to you. And now you actually understand these concepts. Once the session is over, you can favorite that tutor and then see when they're going to be available to work again. So all you would do is head to that tab. And again, I don't have anybody here, but their name will pop up and it will let you know when they're going to be online next. And if they are available, you can just hop into the queue and work with them that way. So again, it's great for people who want a bit more consistency, or they just don't feel like dealing with a bunch of different people. They find the one tutor that works for them and they can continue to work with them that way. And then lastly is the locker. And you can think of this as your Google Drive. And essentially anything that you upload here, you could download anywhere else. And anything that you actually upload into the classroom. So let's say you upload a screenshot or a certain paper that you're working on, that will get saved to your locker for you to access at a later date. So you don't really have to worry about losing different materials or anything like that. But that is just about everything regarding Homework Alabama, how to access it, how to create an account, and all the different features that are available. If anybody has any questions, again, I am more than happy to take your questions now. There should be a question box attached to your control panel. Otherwise, feel free to send me an email after the session is done in about a day or so, you'll get a follow-up email with a recording of this session. So you can always just reply to that and let me know if you have any more specific questions, and I'd be happy to assist you with that. But yeah, I'll keep the floor open for some questions now. All right. It looks like one question is coming in, and that has to do with the Spanish tutors. And if again you go to connect with the tutor now and then Espanol, these tutors are going to be available for the same hours as our English tutors. So this is available from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that full range of time that you can connect with an English tutor, you can also connect with a Spanish tutor. Um, it looks like someone's asking again if there is going to be a recording that's going to be sent out. Yep, keep an eye out for a recording sent out about tomorrow, and you can review that or share it out with anybody. And also, we're going to be having another session of this, I believe, in 2 weeks or so. So there's going to be a link to that as well. And if you think this is going to be helpful, feel free to share out with your friends, colleagues, really anyone, because just about everybody in the state of Alabama can use this program. So definitely share it out if you think it's helpful. And yeah, there's a comment saying that this is awesome and my middle schoolers needs major help. Understandable. Back in middle school, I wish I had this resource. It probably would have saved me so much stress. But this is a great resource for just about all ages. We even have if you choose the grade level, we even have up to kindergarten. So while most kindergartners aren't actually taking any tutoring sessions, let's say you have a third grader and you want to practice reading, you can actually do that. And then you'll be able to connect with a tutor. And obviously, I would recommend that you, as a parent, are working with your child and the tutor at the same time. So you'll be there for that session. But you can have your kid read to this tutor and they can help them out and give them some feedback. Or you can have a session with the tutor so that you better understand how to help your child. So there's a ton of resources available here. I'll keep the floor open for a couple more minutes. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for joining. And I hope to see you or your friends in the next session. All right, so we did get a question asking if the session with a tutor, if you can see them. Right now, we don't have any video, basically video option for these sessions. It's either just chat or voice, or chat and voice. But right now, there is no video. That's something that we're looking into. So we might have some more information for you in the future. But right now, it's just chat and voice. All right, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. Again, if anything does come up, let's say you start playing around with the program later, you can always feel free to reach out to me. And actually, one question did come in. Does my daughter need her own account or library card? So, as I mentioned in the very beginning, in order to access the program, really you just need to be in the state of Alabama. So, for example, once you hit get started over here, the system from the state library will basically check to see if your IP address is within the state of Alabama. And if so, then you can instantly get access and you'll be brought over to our home page. If for whatever reason you aren't able to get in through that authentication, instead of being brought to this page, you'll be brought to a screen that does ask for a library card, but you can also reach out to us and we'll get that fixed on our end so that you don't need to deal with that. So, for the most part, nobody needs to have a library card in order to access. They just need to be in the state of Alabama. As for needing an account, you don't need to have an account. If you don't want to make an account, that's fine. The only thing is you'll only have the option to connect with the tutor live. You don't have any of the extra async stuff. So let me actually just do this. If you don't create an account, you only have access to this. You don't have access to anything else, and that's because we do need to save or retain some information to send stuff back to you. So accounts are completely optional. It's just what you're looking for. Let me know if that helps. All right, awesome. Well, I'll call that for now. If anything else comes up, just feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for your time.